EEE EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Spyderco Native 5. These are two different versions. We have the Native 5 and Rex45 steel with orange G10 handles, and we also have the fluted titanium handles with the S35VN steel. These are both no longer available on the primary market, but unless you can find some scarce dealer that has it. But for the most part, these are available on the secondary market. So why am I reviewing them? Because these are Golden Colorado knives, and therefore they're available in a lot of different variations, and new steels and new variations are coming out all the time. So you're going to see the different versions of this. First of all, you're going to have the lightweight versions. You can have Salt Series versions, which are rust resistant or rust proof, depending on the steel. And then you're also going to have the G10 versions like this, which are the nice blocky G10 that Spyderco likes to use. You have fluted titanium. This is the only version in fluted titanium, but there's also an S90V version in fluted carbon fiber as well. So we'll cover all that in this review. First of all, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. I'll go ahead and clear this one out while we do those size comparisons. Here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. As you can see, this is a blade that is very similar in size to the Para 3, but it is smaller in the handle, much smaller in the handle than both of these. Here's the Manix 2. The EWC from Monterey Bay Knives. That's a similarly sized knife for you there. How about a Hogue Ritter RSK? And Benchmade Bugout. Smaller than the Bugout here. Here's the Spyderco Chapparal. It is bigger than the Chapparal, of course. And here is the Benchmade 940 and the new Benchmade 945. You can see it's in between those two knives right there. Okay, so that's it for the size comparisons. Let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad of this. So first of all, some of the good is the just the hardware right off the bat. The hardware is good size hardware. As you can see, the Torx here is T8 Torx instead of T6, which is great. Very happy with that. Also, one of the big benefits of this native line is that if you don't like the big hump that comes here on the paramilitary line, see those humps? If you don't like those humps, the native eliminates them but keeps the Spidey hole. So if you're someone who likes to really choke up on your knives like really far, or do cuts along the edge and of things like this, this is a much better blade shape for you than paramilitary Para 3 or Paramilitary 2 is. So again, if you really like to choke up on your knives, get close like that, or you like extending your thumb without worrying about being held back by a hump, this is a much better option. So, and I just repeated myself, but that's okay. So that's one of the great things right there as well. Another thing is that this is a very strong locking mechanism. It is a back lock, so it is a strong locking mechanism, but it is not, and it feels very solid as a result, but it is not a compression lock. Now, normally, normally if I was reviewing a back lock, I would put that in the bad. So why am I putting that in the good? Because this is done so well. The back lock on here is just done so well that I don't mind the fact that it's a back lock, and it doesn't, it has a different type of fidget factor, but it's just the right size to fool with the back lock and still be fidget friendly. So I'm not really worried about that. And frankly, especially the back lock on this one is much easier to fool with than this one. It just has a little bit less tension, which makes it more of a joy to fidget with if that's what you're into. So that's a huge plus as well. Also, the blade shape on here it's an eminently good blade shape. It has it's almost like a spear point blade shape, but they call it a leaf blade shape mainly because it's flat ground. But if this was ground differently, I think you'd call this more of like a spear point style, or because it's not quite a drop point, it's coming to that spear edge almost. And it's just great for a lot of different cuts. You can get, you know, good for these shaving cuts. It's good for going through. It's good for piercing. You know, you still have good, adequate tip strength on here for, you know, those types of tasks. So, you know, it's not going to be the same type of tip that you would have on some other knives, but I think the tip, if I had to guess, is just as strong, if not stronger, than the paramilitary series, and I think it is, yes. So you're looking at, you know, I think this is the same blade stock. It's a little thinner. It's actually a little thinner blade stock. So it's probably a little bit thinner of a tip, but it feels just as strong nonetheless. And this is, you know, Rex45 is going to be a somewhat chippy metal. I haven't had any issues with it. So, you know, this is pretty strong for whatever you're going to need it to be for the most part. Another good thing is, I'm going to move to this model. If you really want luxury on this model, the fluted titanium and fluted carbon fiber, just add, the contouring adds a whole nother level to this knife. I frankly think it's worth the extra money. And it's quite a bit of extra money, but I frankly think it's worth the extra money. It's beautiful in hand, this, I never saw myself keeping these. I honestly bought them just to review, or I bought this one just to review, and I liked it so much that I decided to get the more premium version of it, actually selling this, but I am going to hold on to this, and this is going to become a permanent part of my collection. So very happy with this. The ergonomics on this are just fantastic. The grip behind here doesn't work for me at all. I mean, really not at all. But with that finger choil in here, it's just a joy. So it's not like the paramilitary, the Para 3. To the Para 3, my preferred grip is with the choil, but with the Para 3, you can go behind here and feel, you know, like it's still okay. And both of these grips are fine. This is not true of the Native, at least for me, and I have size large gloved hands. It's just where this hump hits. It doesn't feel good in the hand, but this feels excellent right here. You can see that the humps hit in all the right places when I'm here. So that's great as well. The action on this is really good. I believe it's phosphor bronze washers, and for being a backlock, it really has good action on it. Nice solid feedback the whole way through, and like I said, very fidget friendly for a backlock. So that'll pretty much do it for the good, I think. The blade is excellent. As I said, the ergonomics are good. The backlock's a joy on this, which is not something I normally say about backlocks. And overall, you know, the stock and everything is great too, even though it's a little thinner than the Para 3. So very nice there. Let's talk about some of the bad. So some of the bad is the price is creeping up there. You know, the price on these used to be lower, like 30 bucks lower, something like that. The sprint run versions run around 164 now. I think they used to run around the 135 mark. So these are a little bit more expensive now. These ones are like 240, or they were 240 at the time. I don't know what they're going for in the secondary, but they're not cheap. And the fluted tie versions are also on the secondary, not cheap. They're probably still around that 240 to 300 mark, but they're getting up there as far as that goes. If you can find them for the original list price of around 240, I think these fluted tie and fluted CF ones are worth it. But frankly, these are still priced pretty well for today's market, and I'm still glad I have them. If I was well, I'll get to that in the conclusion. The clip I don't like necessarily very much because it has this hole in it in addition to the normal clip. I know that's where the lanyard hole is. I think it's a really inconvenient spot for a lanyard hole, and the clip is just kind of awkward in that way as a result. This clip doesn't work very well, and then if you want to do a deep carry clip, you end up sort of off the side here with that deep carry clip, as you can see. And this is a Lynch clip, by the way. And the other thing is you're going to end up with, you know, the fat part here right in your hand, which is sort of how it goes on the Manix. This does feel better than the Manix in that regard, because I didn't like the deep carry clip on the Manix. I do like it on other knives that it doesn't necessarily hit my palm like that. So this is the Paramilitary 2, and it doesn't necessarily hit my palm right there. My palm's here. So I generally like it better than the Manix, but not as good as the Paramilitary 2 or Para 3 as far as the deep carry clip where it fits on there, and the regular clip just kind of sucks. So, I mean, the retention on it is fine and everything, but the design, I think the design and where it's sitting, how much of this, you know, sits out of the pocket, the attractiveness of it, all that kind of sucks. So that's where I'm at on that. Other than that, the biggest complaint I have is probably the blockiness of these scales. That's why I really recommend the fluted versions. The blockiness you can really feel in your hands. I would prefer something a little bit more contoured. So that's the other big thing. Can I recommend these knives? So like I said, if you're going to get them and you can afford it, I think that these versions are the best and they're worth the money. These versions are also worth the money. The lightweight ones are as well. However, at the price range they're in, I'd probably have several other knives before I had these. And, I'd probably prefer to have 940. I'd probably prefer to have a Manix before this, which is in Spyderco's own lineup. I'd probably prefer to have, of course, the Para 3 before this, not necessarily because of the compression lock, just because I think it is a little bit more comfortable, than the Native. And even though I like the Native's blade shape better, I think the actual handle design is a little bit better on the Para 3. So, and then of course the compression lock I do like a little bit better than the back locks. So that's the other bonus as well. So again, at the price range, they kind of have a lot of competition. So do I recommend it? Yes. Do I recommend it against whatever's out there in the competition? Not necessarily. It's more for, in my opinion, if you specifically need a knife like this, then go get it. If you have a collection and you already have sort of filled the niche of a lot of knives in this price range, go get it. But if you're looking for your first knife, there are some other ones like the Para 3. If you're looking for something bigger like the Shaman, or, even the RSK Ritter, the Ritter RSK, I should say, from Hogue, the, Benchmade Bugout, I'd probably prefer over this, which I know some people may not, but of course I'd get upgraded scales if I was going to get the Bugout over this. The EWC, if you're going for more of a gentleman's carry, I'd rather have over this. But if you're looking for something hard use, I'd rather have these. That's pretty much where I'm at. The other thing is that there's also stiff competition with the Chapparal. So if you're looking for something with a little bit thinner stock than the Para 3, the Chapparal itself is, and this is the upgraded version with CF and with carbon fiber and CTS-XHP, but XHP is also on the lower version that you can get for like $90. And frankly, this gives you the same type of grip where you're up on the choil, right here. It's a little bit smaller of a blade, but not much. Well, yeah, it's a little bit smaller of a blade. Sorry, camera's playing tricks on me. It's a little bit smaller of a blade, but you can do pretty much everything you're gonna do with this, as long as it doesn't need the thicker stock, because this stock is much thinner. And as a result, this is going to cut way better. Now, if you need the thicker stock, you always have the Para 3. So that's sort of where I think this sits in today's market. It's good, but there are plenty of other knives out there that I think I'd rather have at this price point, unless you're a collector and you've already filled those types of things. So thanks so much for watching. Hope this was helpful. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell to get all my content, and see you guys later. Thanks.